The UDR cast is not affiliated and does not represent any 12-step fellowship. I, Bill Ward, the host of the UDR cast, will be sharing my experience and my journey of recovery. That does include, but is not limited to, the literature contained in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps. Our guests will be sharing their own path to recovery and what has worked for them. The UDR cast encourages and supports all paths to recovery. Welcome everybody to the UDR cast. UDR stands for Uncover, Discover, and Recover. My name is Bill Ward, and I'm coming to you from the recovery capital of Canada, Calgary, Alberta. Here we are going to discuss everything recovery, different perspectives, different experiences, both with the people I know and with others from around the world. If you resonate with anything you've heard on this episode today, we ask that you share it with anyone who you think may benefit from it. If you have any questions or comments, please find us at BILLWARDLIFE and send us a message in the info section. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. If you are interested in more recovery content, you can find the buttons for the YouTube channel and other social media outlets on the homepage, and you will be redirected to those platforms. We can recover, one person, one family, one community at a time. Okay, welcome everybody to the UDR podcast. I'm really fucking excited today to have a newfound friend come on to our podcast today. I met this guy, I'm gonna say probably about 8 months ago, and I didn't meet him in person. You know, I've been new to the Instagram platform here in the last, 16 or 18 months. I've learned how to navigate it. I've been part of the recovery community. And I kept seeing this gentleman's posts. And I related with everything. And so, we've exchanged messages back and forth. We've liked each other's posts, and we've just kind of gotten to know each other at a technology level. And now the other day, we spoke on the phone, and now we're again together here on a video platform, although we're only recording audio. But I can't help but say that it feels like I've known this guy for a while, and it's pretty cool. So I welcome Yianni from Montreal, who's a recovery activist and doing many different things to carry the message of hope to other people. Welcome, Yianni. Really happy to have you here, my friend.
Really grateful to be here, Bill. For starters, like you said before, same thing on my end, right? About maybe 15, 16 months new to the technology, new to Instagram, in confinement. So in the recovery, let's say circle, liking, following recovery solution-based people, for starters, out loud, not anonymous, out loud, speaking the truth. And I really related to your page, for starters. I really liked the core, the honesty, the direct, the rawness, let's say, the real, because
and that's something I don't think I was like that before, right? And that's something that I've learned in recovery is honesty, vulnerability, putting it out there. It's kind of like giving up the edge. I used to keep the edge because I was afraid that you might hurt me with it. But I've learned that if I give you the edge, I actually value my life values from it. And being vulnerable, honest, and integral, it just is the way to go, right? And that's what I see with what you're doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly the same. It's funny to say, I remember cleaning up, and I remember going into a treatment center, and I got close with my counselor, and it's funny because I'm still close with him today. And I remember telling him, I feel like a softie. And he tells me, that's your gift of recovery. Don't change that. You're a man with his heart on his sleeve, right? So stay that way. Do your best to stay that way. And, again, like exactly, I completely agree with what you said. Go back to being honest, integrity, be real. In life, you're going to get hurt.
And I
But
think that's one of the things life teaches us is you're a man, don't be soft. We learn all of these things in our society, and it's like, don't be soft as a man. Don't talk about your feelings. Keep your tears in. And we almost build guilt and shame for being soft and wanting to be, vulnerable, but we're not allowed to. And that's one of the things I think that actually drive us into the bottle or into the drugs, because we can't actually be who we're supposed to be. We got to be someone else for the people around us or for society at large, because this is what we're told to do. But the real gift is not adhering to the belief systems that we've learned, kind of getting within ourselves and then expressing ourselves as we truly are. And that's what you're doing. And I'm really happy your counselor said, don't suppress that, bro. That is your gift. That is Yianni. And now that Yianni can be Yianni, Yianni's a fucking force to be reckoned with. And now you're helping other people find their own truth, right? Like, I know you work with a lot of people, and is that kind of what you're doing with these guys?
Yeah. Be real. Be yourself. Take chances. It's just do every day when you wake up in the morning, be the best you can be honest, have integrity, show up to life.
And that's half the battle is showing up. Really, it is. So Yianni, I'd like to kind of get into your story a little bit. And as we talk, what I like to carry a message, and to who it is for the new person, but also for the person who's got a year in, or maybe they got 2 years in, and they're like still wondering, is this all there is? Is this all there is? And no, there's more. There really is. And I see a lot of messages in different meetings and different platforms where people are still restless, irritable, discontented, and not really getting the right message. And so that's why I want to do what I'm doing here is let's bring the truth out about how we can level up and how we can live the best life we can. So why don't we talk about some of the darkness and where your life started, maybe your upbringing, and kind of how you got into your substance abuse and where it was taking you.
No problem, Bill. Thank you. So I come from I'm Greek, right? So I come from a Greek-based family, religion-based family, for starters. And it's funny when I look back today, my problem started at 5 years old, and it was through a positive thing. My sister got married, and one day she was there, one day she left. Then when I was 7, I saw my brother and my father get into a fist fight, and my brother left the house, and I didn't see my brother for 4 years. And I have 14 years with my bro and 17 with my sister. And why I say this today is because back then, I remember my father and my mother concentrating on my brother leaving the house. What are people gonna say that my Greek son is dating a French Canadian woman? Now we're going back in the 80s, okay? And that really affected me because going home, they shifted all their attention towards my brother, right? Something bad is going to happen to my brother, and this is not supposed to be. So they didn't do it on purpose, obviously. They did the best they can with what they knew. But at the time, I felt like if you take a picture of me and put it in the living room, or if I was actually there, it would be the same thing. So I got somewhat of a complex. And then further on, I noticed that I liked solitude. I liked to be alone because it was the only time I can be real, like as a young kid, I was somewhat forced into religion. I'm not saying that I didn't learn some stuff from it, right? You know, I'm not going to completely sit here and bash religion. You know, it came to a plus for me because I'm open-minded. Like if I go back to today, I think I've read all the religion books possible, you know, just to know. You know, I'm a spiritual based person, but I'm open to learning, right? And going back to when I was young, so school, I was a quiet kid, but I always used to manipulate. I always used to do things to get my way. Always like a chameleon, let's say. And then further, like at 15, 16 years old, the first time I went to a bar, I drank, obviously, but it was that effect from back then. Like, wow, what is this, you know? So from 15, 16 years old, it was never to go have a beer. It was to go feel that effect where I can be myself, where I can be Superman, where I can feel good, where I can go talk to the girl, you know? What was did I have a problem from then? Personally, I believe yes. It's my personal opinion. And I believe I did, because everything I did from there moving forward was to get that feeling. You know, I go to girlfriends. The abandonment at a young age brought me to be possessive towards my girlfriends, because going into every relationship, I believed that I'm supposed to call a person 15 times a day. That person is an object, so they belong to me. They're mine. So I would get possessive, but I didn't know that I was possessive. And then every girl would leave me, right? So it would make me even more and more insecure. The first time at 24 years old, I had my first line was when I lost a child. I was engaged, I lost a child, and then again, it's the woman's fault. You know, the fucking girl, she killed my kid. And I just took off. I went to Europe for 4 months. Okay. But I mean, you take me from, let's say, the town I grew up in, Montreal, which is Park Extension, put me in front of a bar and put me anywhere I went to Europe. All I did was sit in front of a bar. And then it's funny because I did one line before I left. And then when I landed in Montreal 4 months later, the first place I went was to find that high. I didn't even go home. You know, was it all bad? At the time, I didn't think so. I can stop whenever I want. Oh, I used too much, or I drank too much. Let's take a week off.
So Yanni, I want to rewind a little bit here. A
Yes.
couple things that you're saying I resonate with, and as I've worked with so many individuals, I see certain patterns, right? And one of the things that you're talking about was, you know, alcohol played a bit of an exhilarating part of your life when you first found it. It made you feel like Superman, made you able to talk to the women, took away some of the insecurities that you might have had. And then it kind of opened your mind. And it basically, in some ways, it expands our life. It makes life bigger, and it allows me to kind of go further and meet people and try things. And so it's expanding our lives. But then another thing that you said is the control. You know, as you start dating women, I really love that you said the possession. They belong to you. Because as I've done my program of recovery, I've learned that the possession thing, the thing that I make, whatever it is, I can make many things a thing, a possession. And once I start making a thing, whatever it is, a person, a place, a thing, even an ideal, the thing or a possession, then I start pulling levers in my life to try to not have this thing that I think it is leave me, or I'm trying to pull the levers in my life to try to get it. And really what I'm doing is I'm living a life based in my own insecurities, based in my selfishness. And all of those behaviors actually make me feel bad. But like you said, you didn't know you were doing it. I didn't know I was doing it. It was just life. And when we look around, everybody's doing it. But for us as alcoholics addicts with this like mental illness of self, it really starts destroying us. So as you kind of fast forward up to you're 24 years old and you've left, you've done a geographical change already. You know, you've lost a child, resentment, you're blaming people already. And then you come home and you don't even go home, you go right to the fucking drugs. Right? So already the drug that was expanding your life is now turning on you and starting to fucking cut you to ribbons, just like our literature says, right? And so just for the listeners, like these are some pretty fucking standard traits of alcoholics and addicts and even some normal people. But the thing with an alcoholic addict is we can die from this shit. Your normal person's just going to be miserable. We'll fucking die over it, right? So anyway, keep going, buddy. Sorry to stop you there.
Not at all. And yes, for the listeners, it is very important, you know, and coming back, stuff wasn't that bad at the time. Okay, because I was taught from a young age, and I go back to my child, what are people going to say? What are people going to think, right? So obviously I was involved in some criminal activity in my life. Yes, I've been in and out of prison. But I mean, it's like I had to look good on the outside. So the house was always clean. The car was always clean. You know what I mean? There was always money in my pocket. I can stop whenever I want. Every girls would come and go, but this is the flip side of my story. And it's funny how life works. Okay, it's really funny how life works. So at the time, I'm 28 years old, and I meet a woman a touch older than me, okay? And she's 5 years clean. So we end up, I want to get just like a quick, I'm jealous of this girl. When I say jealous, I'm jealous of the fact that I'm waking up in the morning and I feel like a train ran me over, and I see her eyes glowing every morning she wakes up. I see her in shape. I see her getting dressed. I see her doing her thing. I see her going to her meeting. I'm asking her what they're doing at this meeting, right? We end up moving in together. And every time she goes to work, I pick up a few literature books. I'm opening the books. I'm reading where it's highlighted, and I'm telling myself, like, did they write this book about me? Now I'm 29 years old, right? 28, 29 years old. I only got clean 5 years ago. I got clean at 37. So obviously she threw me out after about a year and a half. It's only normal. You know, one time, like, she had no problem with me going out with my friends, but bars closed at 3. I'd come home the next day. Then, you know, I'd come home 2 days later. So obviously, you know, enough's enough. But I mean, she's still in my life today. You know, for some reason, she tells me I was able to see through all the bullshit. I was able to see that you were a good person at heart. And then another weird thing that happened to me was and all this I can look back today and see it, is I did a big operation on my leg. And I didn't lie. I wasn't lying to the doctors at the time. And I told them I drink and I do cocaine. So can I do these things? He tells me, I really suggest you not till you heal. So I stopped. A year and 2 months exactly, I stopped. But it was the shittiest time of my life because I didn't know how to live. I didn't know how to manage emotions. I hated everybody. And then I just transferred into, I couldn't go to work, right? Whatever stuff I was doing on the side. So I would watch TV series all day. I would criticize people. I had to go, if I'd be stuck in traffic, it was like a shit show. You know, and then my only purpose was to heal my leg, to be able to go back and to do drugs and drink.
So you have this medical incident, you have to have your leg operated on. You quit doing drugs and alcohol, and it was the worst time of your life. And that is so typical of the real deal alcoholic addict that suffers the spiritual malady. You put the drink and the drug down, and now you're left with yourself. And now you have to live in the spiritual malady with no solution because the drink and the drugs are gone. And that is the symptom of the real deal alcoholic. It gets worse. And you are probably declining in your character and your behavior and fucking lashing out. And at the drop of a hat, you know, for me, I know when I was untreated alcoholic and addict, because I had a period too, I would fucking get angry at the drop of a hat. My road rage was like at 100%. You know, if the kids fucked up me watching the hockey game at the wrong moment, it was just like rawr, right? And like people had to be careful around me. And I actually affected rooms and environments in such a negative way, just the presence of me because of the vibration of negativity that I vibrated at. But I didn't know. I thought these were my character traits, bro. I thought anger was a character trait, and it actually, like the drink and the drug, it expanded my life. Anger and some of this manipulation and control expanded my life, and it got me some things that seemed pretty good. But you know, I found out later that they weren't character traits. They were just symptoms of my own brokenness and my own insecurities and my own spiritual malady at the end of the day. And you know, coming to realize that later was pretty interesting. And another thing that you had talked about was you saw yourself in the book. You had picked up this book that your girlfriend was reading in the program, and you're like, what the fuck? And so little light bulbs are still going off, but it wasn't enough to grab you and pull you into asking her more or going to a meeting or anything. But you could see yourself in that book. You just weren't ready at that point, right? So just wanted to bring up those couple points, bro, that I totally related with. I never did see the book until I came in, but anyway, carry on, my friend.
Yeah. So yeah, I really, and then I even tried in one of the literatures. It says every time you feel like drinking in early, when you're trying to clean up early, when you're trying to sober up in early recovery, carry a chocolate in your pocket. You know, every time you get a feel. And I would try all these things, but in secret, all by myself. You know, but then this is where it gets devastating. Like the last 5 years, I was just like, a beer would hit my lips. Let's say we were Thursday, a beer would hit my lips, and I would say, here we go again. Where am I going to be 4 or 5 days from now? You know, 7 overdoses, hospitalized, ruining everybody around me. But if you would come and tell me, Yianni, you have a problem, everything outside looked good. And
What were your parents saying? Were your parents or your family members, were they saying anything to you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I would like, are you going to stop? When are you going to stop? Don't you think you're drinking a lot? Like an example. And, you know, I had to accept this because I was really, when I look back at it, like, how can I do this to my father? You know, I would take my father on trips with me. Okay. So let's say I would go to Cuba with my dad. We'd get there. I'd leave him at the resort. And then I'd see him 10 days later when it was time to go back. Stuff like that. I'd take him, bring him to Mexico. And then I tell him, what's your problem? You know, I paid your ticket. So whether my dad was there or not, it wasn't really like today, I can't do these. Like, I don't see it there's no way I would do something like that. It's impossible. You know, I went on a road trip with my father around the US, and the best time of the whole trip was in the car when we were talking, and he told me about his life story and how he came over from Greece and all the struggles he went through and all the good times he's been. Like, wow. You know, the difference of what recovery brings to life.
Hmm. You're able to be
The character
present.
change. Yeah. The character change.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's beautiful. My dad recently moved in with me, and very similarly to you, I've been able to be present with him. You know, I've gotten to know my dad more in the last 4, 5, 6 months since he's lived with me than I did in my whole life. And in large part was because I was so selfish and self-centered that I didn't give a fuck about anyone else really but myself and my own status and what you thought of me and the money. I needed to make money and I needed to build this business, and like it's so shallow. And some of my best days today are exactly what you said. I say to my dad, "Hey dad, you want to go for a cruise?" And we'll just jump in my car and go for a fucking cruise. And those are some of the most precious moments, just hearing my dad talk about whatever it is, man. So I really relate to that. And that is one of the gifts, to be present, to fucking be able to listen to somebody else, not think about what I'm going to say. So I hear you, bro. I hear you.
And that's what it was like me, like the last 5 years, you know, I'm going to touch on that a little bit. I couldn't sit on my couch by myself. I couldn't. I would call, and it's, you know what? It's not, I'm not afraid to be like, I'd call escorts, but it wasn't to, honestly, like it wasn't to have sex with them or anything. I just wanted somebody to hang out with. So I would pay these girls to talk to them, you know, and I would cry to them and I would tell them that I'm unhappy, you know, and I would offer them drugs and alcohol. And then one would leave, I'd call another one. And it was just like a cycle. I was in that for about 5 years. Then this was the biggest turning point in my life, you know, because I do want to touch on recovery because it's very important. This was the biggest turning point in my life. This is, you know, when we say we've had enough and we ask for help, 5 o'clock in the morning, I walk into my mother's room, I walk into my mother's house, into a room, I wake her up, poor lady. I fall on my knees and I tell her, do me a favor, Mom, please call the cops. Tell the cops I beat you. I need to go to jail to relax. Cocaine beat me. You know, the acceptance.
And you went to your mom's house and asked her to say that you beat her so you could go to jail because you didn't know how to escape this illness.
Yeah.
And back to the escorts, and as we just want to be loved, we just want to be heard, we just want vulnerability. And through that avenue that you could only see, that's how it was going to happen, was you had to call these ladies. What it does is it actually creates more shame, more guilt, and then it causes for more using, more of the same behavior, more guilt, more shame. And we're dishonoring our own selves and we don't even know it. And then we do things like you just did, you know, asking your mom to say that you beat her so that you can go to jail because you're at the jumping off point, man. You don't know what the fuck to do. You can't live drinking and drugging. You can't live without it. You're fucking not happy with who you are. And then, like our book talks about, you get to the jumping off point, right? It's like fucking, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah. Exactly.
But you want to go to jail because you think that's your solution.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to go to jail. I want to relax. But at that point, something changed inside of me. Something switched. Like for some reason, I knew everything was going to be okay. My sponsor tells me that's step 0 of recovery. I continued using after that day because my mom was one of those moms that would never call the cops on me, right? Because she could have called the cops on me many times in her life for numerous different things, right? That she found or whatever the case is. But I mean, I went looking, it was time. Like I went looking for a treatment center. I went to the appointments. I showed up to the appointments, and literally I checked myself in. And oddly to say, it was very difficult to do that. But I remember when I walked through those doors, I was the happiest person in the world. Like I was at a point in my life where a treatment center made me the happiest guy in the universe. Like God, life couldn't have given me more. I got there. Like I knew there, I'm not going to die now.
So you had that feeling of hope, although you didn't know what to expect. You just knew that, okay, I have a chance.
Yeah.
Back a bit. What did your
Yes.
sponsor say was the step 0 promise?
Because I accepted I had a problem for the first time in my life to myself.
Oh, so that gift of desperation.
Yeah.
Like in the big book on page 52, it's labeled as the bedevilments, but I call them the step 0 promises. You know, there's 8 of them on page 52. We couldn't control our emotional natures. We were prey to misery and depression. We couldn't form relationships. And there's 8 of these things. And one of them that's there, it says we couldn't make a living. And that one that we couldn't make a living, that's the one that'll keep people from admitting that they're actually an alcoholic or an addict or seeking help. Because your ability, you knew for years, but because you were able to make money still and have things look okay on the outside, it was hard for you to really go, I'm a fucking alcoholic addict.
Yeah.
So that gift of desperation that you finally got to, and that deep level concession, like this is the first step in recovery, the deep level concession that you're fucked. But through that acceptance of that darkness, that's where we can grow, and that's where the hope came from, right? And so that's a beautiful, dude. I'm really digging your story today, and your textbook alcoholic addict too, right?
Yeah. But like what you're saying is today I'm so grateful for, it's funny because I remember I thought I was old stuff. I thought I was old things. I thought I was, nobody owes me nothing. Today I'm aware of that. And it's funny how, like, I went to treatment, and what kept me out there for such a long time was, like you said, right? Things looked good on the outside. So if you would approach me and tell me, Yianni, you have a problem, I'd probably look at you and tell you, I make more money than you. I don't have a problem. Stuff like that, like arrogant, like that. Okay. And I didn't realize that because, when I went to treatment, I called my cousin to come and pick me up. Okay. I locked my home. Okay. I went to treatment, and then my first sponsor brought me back home for the first time. And it's like I left my home and I came back to my home, right? So when he walked in, he goes to me, fuck, you don't know it yet, but you're one of those guys that's sitting on gold. I didn't understand that till I worked with a lot of alcoholics and addicts. I had never understood that. And in treatment, honesty was a big key point. Yes, I remember, and thank God for this man, and I'm grateful for him, because I got arrogant in one of his groups, and he walked up straight to my face, and he told me, listen, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to tell you this once. The only place you were able to bring yourself was 37 years old in a treatment center. You should be very proud of that. If I were you, I'd sit down, I'd shut the fuck up, and I'd open my ears. Direct, like that. Did he hurt my feelings? Yeah. Was he right? Absolutely. And then in the middle of my treatment, I decided to because there was something I was holding on to, because I had arranged something to have money when I come out. And I was honest with him because I was holding on to that. And he told me, if you really need it, take it. I suggest you don't. And I didn't.
So you had arranged something, and probably wasn't above board, I'm guessing, knowing how we are.
Yeah.
And then you finally got honest with them, and he gave you the choice.
Yeah.
And basically, underlying in this choice, he says you can do that, and the results probably aren't good, or you can do something that's hard and not take that easy road, and you'll probably benefit from it in the long run.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then another thing I'd like to touch on is your counselor fucking in your face,
Yeah.
you know, giving more a shit about your life than your feelings, telling you the fucking truth. And no matter how the truth and the heart is delivered, it has an impact, and it had an impact on you.
Yeah.
And some of us, like me, Yianni, I need that. I need someone to look at me and say, you know what? What do you fucking know? You made it in here at 42 fucking years old. Sit the fuck down, Bill. Shut the fuck up and listen for a change. I need what you need, my friend. So keep going.
So then it's all new. You come out of treatment. I remember him telling me, the counselor, do the opposite of what you think. You know, I didn't take that personally, because my best thinking got me where I was, right? So do the opposite of what you think. And I just listened, because it started to feel good from treatment, after treatment, the 90 and 90, the 12 steps of recovery were suggested when we get out of treatment. I tackled that. And you said something at the beginning that's very, very, very important. Okay. At around 2 years, is that all there is? Because when you're going ground up, it's nice, right? And us, when things are going normal, we're not used to it. I'll speak for me, when things are just balanced out, I was never used to that. It was either shit was going really good or shit was going really bad. So when you're in that middle, in that gray area, like I would get confused, like, is there something wrong? Is there this? So at about 2 years, and I know it's not recommended, but I work with a woman that has 35 years clean, okay? I listen to a lot of shares on the internet, okay? And there was this one share that I would go back to, and I would cry all the time. And there was something about meetings, there was something about life, there was something, the ego was coming back. It's that simple. I don't think I need this. I'm good. I went to talk to my counselor, and I remember him calling me retarded. You're retarded. And I went stalking for this woman. She happened to be from Montreal, and I went to stalking somebody to take me through the work.
So you met this woman. You never met her. You heard her on some speaker tapes.
Yes.
You knew she was from Montreal. So then you
Yes.
set out to find her on
Yes.
like a stalker bench.
Yes. I overheard her say her home group. I went to her home group. I asked. Then I went to different CA meetings. I asked who she is and this and that. And today we're best friends. She's my mentor. She guides me. She cuts through the bullshit. Let me tell you, she cuts through the bullshit. And I believe God wanted that for me, right? Because without God, we have nothing. That's one. But the choices, the seeking, the open mind. Let's go see what this is about. Why am I crying? Why am I feeling this? Why do I feel off? Don't be afraid, whoever's listening. Take that extra step. It's important. Because at 2 years and a month, everything was under control. And I don't know about you guys down there. I've heard another speaker one time say, everybody who has a year or less, pick up your hand, and it's 3/4 of the room. Everybody who has 2 years and more, between 2 and 5 years, there's maybe about 3 people. And then it's everybody who has 5 years and more, there's a lot of more hands that are raised, right? Because shit starts getting good, then we forget. I go with that mentality, do or die. I don't forget that. Do or die.
So Yianni, I want to chime in here for a second. So exactly what you said is a message I carry out here. Because I've seen it, dude. I've seen it in the rooms, and I've seen it in the different fellowships and in my own sponsorship. A lot of people can get a year. Like a lot of people can get a year. But hardly any make it to 2 years. And hardly any make it to 5 years. Why? I think this is why. This is my opinion. Because in the rooms and in the fellowship, we're so focused on the substance. And once you come in here desperate enough, you do some work, you can distance yourself from the substance, and you think it's all God. God's doing all this. But really, God is just the theory. When God's just a theory, if God's not working in and through your life, through the practical application of that book and taking the actions in our lives that book asks us to do, our ego is really powerful, and it can attach to the idea of God. And then as we get, we go up in that first year, and we're getting a lot of things, and everything is fucking gold. But really in the second year, that's where the work begins, because it's like, if you don't have God and your actions are aligning with your program, you will fucking drink again, because the theory of God will not keep you sober. The restless, irritable discontentment will take over, and we will fucking drink again. And I think part of the message in the rooms is, okay, great, you got a year sober off your substance. Let's pat you on the ass and you're on your way. I always say, you're on your way to what? Not recovery. You're on your way to a fucking relapse. So the message that I love to carry is the spiritual malady. Let's talk about the defects of character. Let's talk about why you're crying. Let's get into the fucking meat and potatoes and fucking actually groove this directions into our lives. So I'd like to ask you, so I'm really happy you brought that up, because that's my exact take on what I've seen. So 2 years in, you approach this woman, she sponsors you. What did you guys find out through going deeper? And part of what I'm saying is, you can't do what you did in your first year and your second year. You can't do what you did in your second year and your third year. You got to always be growing. And we come to the stagnant place that you were at 2 years, and it's like, okay, now what? But you identified some things, and God was working in your life, and you were drawn to this woman. What ended up happening as you worked with this woman? What kind of things were revealed?
One thing that I couldn't accept was sloth, because I always thought I was a very hardworking person. And this is just touching a little point of a character defect, okay? Like working 60 hours a week, doing meetings, 4 or 5 sponsees, you know what I mean? Very active, okay? We figured out sloth, we figured out dishonesty, okay? And she cuts through, I don't know, the way she taught me, because if you don't boogie the way, if you don't do the actions, God's there, but you can't just pray to God and not do anything. Shit has to happen. You have to move. You have choices. Okay. And something that I go, like, I work with is what I want to do, what needs to be done. What I want to do, what needs to be done. What I want to do, what I'm supposed to do. Right. Any human being who takes that into consideration in their mind, that what I need to do is harder. So that's the right answer. And that I still go with that today. What did we hit? What did we hit is to apply the program on a daily basis. That's what we hit. Because when things start going good, you stop applying the program. I stopped applying the program. I'll speak for me, right? And I was on ego. And between 1 year and 2 years, it's all new. You're feeling better. You know, you hit the gym a few times, you drop some weight, you wake up in the morning. But that's not an accomplishment. Normal people do that every day. Apply it in your life. The second year, you have to actually work the program. The first year, you learn the program. The second year, you have to apply it to your life.
And understanding self, like the selfish self-centeredness, the root of our trouble, you don't really get the understanding of self in the first year. There's so many new things happening that you don't understand the really root of the problem. That doesn't even begin really until the second year. And I really like that you talked about Sloth and working this program, because it's so easy to not work it when things get good or things change. And I have a saying, I'm like, you know, we can rationalize and justify the most errant nonsense to suit our actions or our inaction in our life. I need to rely on God-centered 12-step pillars so I can be honest with them. And when we talk about honesty in the program, it's actually rigorously honest. And the word rigorous means accurate. I've learned through my own life and through the lives of many other alcoholics addicts, we're not capable of accurate honesty on our own. And for me to just pretend like I can go to God and get the answers at a year or 2 years sober is a fucking joke. We have to rely on other people who have our best interests at heart, who care more about our life than our feelings, like your sponsor, who can cut through the bullshit and see our rationalizing and see where we're slipping down banana peel trail. And we got to be open and willing and released of the ego enough to be able to say, okay, I'm listening to you, I hear you, and willing to fucking take that action. Problem is that a lot of people let the ego reassert itself. Self bleeds back into their life. They think that the job and the woman and all these things are the ticket that, you know, I'm good now. But what actually happens is these are the people that end up relapsing. Their relationships fold. They lose their job anyway because they haven't grooved this way of life into their life. And I'll finish with this. In the book, it talks about grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty.
Rigorous honesty.
And that's what we need, because dishonesty is cunning and it can creep in, and then it bleeds into other areas of our lives and it takes us away from the program, and it's based in that rationalization, right? So I'm super stoked at the message that you're bringing and the delusion that we can create, and how we need to use all aspects of this, including the inventories, including the pillars or sponsors, including the meetings and listening and watching and hearing, and including, you know, sharing and sponsoring and doing everything. It's all kind of part of it. And at first it is a lot, and it's kind of a burden. It's like, fuck, I got to do this. It's almost like a life sentence. But then after a while, it's like the greatest gift a guy ever got. But at first it's not that. And you don't know until you get to this other side what a gift it is. But a lot of people won't get to that other side and see the gift. So, you know, that's what guys like me and you are here for, to really fucking help them. Anyway,
exactly.
Keep going, my friend.
Exactly. Because I never forget that my recovery comes first. Because without my recovery, I don't have my family. I don't have my girlfriend. I don't have my business. I don't have nothing. If, hypothetically speaking, if I have a beer today, I'm gone for 4 or 5 days. I lose everything. Everything that I've worked for 5 years, I lose in 10 seconds. So in order for me to be able to have everything that I do have, or that I am working towards, my recovery is essential. It comes first. And every time, because it's never, every time, because we all go through hard times, right? But every time I go back to, I was taught to go back to basics. What was I doing when things were good? What was I doing for myself? What was I doing? Like, what was my structure like? How often? Because my sponsor has a thing. Okay, she tells me it's not how many meetings you do; it's how you live the program. Meetings, you go back to be of service. Meetings, you go back to help the newcomer. You don't go to meetings for yourself. She tells me sometimes people get jobs and they can't do meetings for 4 months. They get a job in some place up in the north, and there really is no meetings, right? How are you gonna? What are you gonna do when it's you, your book, you, and God?
That's it, bro. That's it. And there becomes a point where, yeah, we go to the meetings when we first go, Yianni, to
Yeah.
take. We
Yeah.
take because
Yeah.
we need. But
Exactly.
then there comes a point where no, we don't go to take. We go to give. Where can I be of maximum service? And I love that you said I can't rely on the meetings. I can't rely on anything really. I got to develop this relationship with God, because what about the time when there's nobody answering a phone?
Exactly.
I got to have a solid relationship with God. And that is the mainspring of this program. That's exactly what the book is about, really.
Mhm.
It enables me to find this power greater than myself that will solve my problem. When I first get here, my problems, I can't put a substance down. But when we stay here long enough, we get past that first set of steps, past that first year, we get to understand what the book says is word. The real problem, the root of my problem is selfish self-centeredness, me. And my buddy, Jesse, who I do podcasts with and who's a really good friend of mine, he has a saying. He says, if you think this book is a theory or some guy's opinion, I fucking feel sorry for you. Until I understood that this was fucking word, that this was the design for living, this was the piece of me that I was born without. When I accepted that this book had my life laid out perfectly in a way, that's when I fucking launched. It's not just pieces. It's not just philosophically comforting and makes me feel good. That book is the way I live my life, and the results are inexplicable.
You touched something there, the book. And when you said it's not there to make me feel good, no, it's not. It's there to give you the truth, right? And a lot of times, truth, when we're true to ourselves, a lot of things don't feel good. In time, you learn that, and it makes it through that book. It makes it easier to make the right decision and the right choice, whether it feels good or not, because we're so used to making ourselves feel good that we all, you know what I mean? Sometimes a right choice or like, I'll just, like, for example, dumbing it down for me, right? Sometimes a certain girl, it's not right. We don't want the same things in life. So why would I waste a person's time when it's not something that I really want? Even if I do care about her, I'm going to have to detach from this person. Even if I don't want to, it's the right thing to do. This is what I believe this book teaches me. Because what we do doesn't always feel good, but it's the right thing.
And sometimes the benefits are later down the road. So as you,
Yes.
maybe our ego really wants this woman. Maybe we want the sex. Maybe we want that validation that we're going to get in that moment. But we've learned through this program that we have to self-sacrifice.
Yes.
Faith alone is insufficient. The idea of God or faith is insufficient. To be vital, to give me like a good life, it must be accompanied by self-sacrifice, unselfish, constructive action. In that moment where we turn her down, or not turn her down, but take the hard decision and say, no, I'm not going to do that, because I now self-sacrifice. It's not about me and my selfish desires. It's about not hurting somebody else. And I know that if I take that action, I do take her, and for the self-validation and the selfish desire, I'm going to feel more terrible about myself anyway, because that's what happens. Anytime I act in selfishness, I actually feel worse about myself. And the self-benefit in that moment of getting her doesn't actually benefit me in my life in a month or in 2 months, because there's me now. And if I think that I'm going to get what I want now, when I look down the road, I'm actually fucking up me down the road. So I'm not really getting the self-benefit. The real self-benefit is saying, God, you take her. Let me do what's hard and not do that, so I can maybe benefit in my character down the road. And then my thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when my thinking is cleared of wrong motive. As I clear that motive and I don't take that action of self-seeking and I bring God in, I actually raise my level of consciousness and I start vibrating higher. And then down the road, there's an opportunity for somebody who's vibrating higher that actually can love me and be with me and want to be with me, and I can be with them on a different plane. And that's what I really fucking want, right? But the ego says, oh no, take this right now. But no, spirit says no. So again, Yianni, fucking gold nuggets, my friend, gold nuggets. So let's switch gears here a little bit as we're kind of pushing our clock a bit. But
Yeah.
as we've talked about your life through addiction into recovery, you're now what, 5 years clean and sober now?
November 1st, 2016 is my date, my sobriety date.
Yep.
So about 4.5 years.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So as we move into like your area of life now, and I see all the things that you're doing, and you also made a big career change, right?
Yeah.
What
Yes,
was
did.
the catalyst behind the career change?
The volunteer work. It all started with volunteer work. I was in the restaurant industry for 20 years, and I went with I wanted to do some volunteer work, and I went to work with some young guys between 12 and 17. It's called Bad Shot down here. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a sound like child services, let's say, in other words. And I worked with them, and I worked with child services in Cornwall. In Cornwall, I was doing intervention prevention. And in Batcha, I would just go and just chill and talk and shoot some pool, play some basketball. And that pushed me to go back to school. I didn't have a high school degree. I asked what do I have to do to maybe work in the field like this? So they guided me. I went on Google, got some information. And yes, Google was new to me. I wasn't computer-based at all. I never had a computer. And it's funny. I went back. I finished my high school. And then from high school, I got to university in addictions. And I did work at a few treatment centers. Then from there, I decided to start Raw in Recovery, where I'm a recovery coach. And I love it. You know, I'm helping people. It's honest. It's fun. I see the change in them.
And really what guided you down this path was the fundamental change within your own being and the opening of your heart and the things that used to interest me, I'll speak for me, because I changed my career, and it was due to the volunteering to the service of other people fundamentally changed my heart. It cleared this blockage, and I didn't want to fucking do anything else. So then I kind of went similar direction as you, and it's almost like, how can you not want to give away what we've been through and how we feel today?
Yeah.
And how can you not want to give this away? How can you not want to bring light to somebody else's life? And now, so tell us all the things that you are up to right now. What are you doing these days?
Well, what I'm doing right now is it's funny because this all really, because I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out before the COVID situation, because I was scared that I wasn't good enough. Okay. Uh, and then when COVID hit, I was getting phone calls for interventions. I was getting phone calls for, it was mostly interventions at the beginning. I'm not going to lie. And that's it. From there on, I didn't have a choice. My website was up. Like I was planning, but afraid to really hit it in, to really work it. But all the restaurants were closed, right? So, or I'm going to stay at home and play the victim and justify and life's not fair, or I'm going to do something about it. So I was working at a treatment center at the time, and I was doing raw and recovery, and then I gave the treatment center a 2 weeks notice, and I went on my own, completely on my own. I just gave it to life, gave it to faith. Let's see, is this really meant for me? Is this really what I'm meant to do? And I'm working with a couple of people now. I did do a sober companion job recently, and I'm learning. I'm always learning. Every day I'm learning. It's hard work. It's hard work. It is really hard work. It gets me out of my comfort zone a lot, and I'm learning. There's nothing more for me important in life than be open to learn. Like I touched when we spoke, and I told you something the other night, which I'm going to repeat. Through my sober companion job, the thing that I learned the most was how to value time. Finishing that contract, I value time so much more. And I realized how much time I would waste on completely nothing. How much more I was able to get done in a day than I would actually do. And I believe in action. I really go by action. Life is part of it's like you want change, action.
Do you use a lot of prayer and meditation and asking the universe or God or whatever? Do you discern a lot of your decisions with prayer and meditation and listen for the answers to know
Yes.
which direction to go?
Yes. And it's funny, and I go back to my sponsor. She taught me she just gave me a way like that. She prays directly, right? When directly is, I ask direct questions in my meditation, and I look for answers in other people. So it can be the person, it can be the cashier at Walmart, for example. They'll give me the answer. So it helps me stay aware. Like I'll never walk up to a cashier talking on the phone. You know what I mean? I'm always present. So is it an exercise in order for me to stay present? Is it an exercise in order for me to be aware? Is it whatever it is, it's working for me, right? I don't question it. When something's going well, I just follow through and do it. I do meditate more in the summertime than the winter, because in the summertime I can go outside, and I like, I live actually where I live, my backyard, I don't have any neighbors at all back. So it's pretty cool. I sit on the grass, and it could get long in the morning. But in the wintertime, I average about maybe 10, 15 minutes in silence. But I pray constantly through the day. I'll pray constantly through the day. And yes, because this recovery coach is 3 years in the making. Like feeling it from inside, from the heart, guidance, falling on let's say from a piece of paper to a website, asking questions. What is it? Then going to do something else. Then not fighting my fear. I always had that thing that I'm not good enough. I always had that complex with my with one of my eyes. it's bigger than the other, right? What are people going to say? People are going to judge me. People are going to criticize me, stuff like that. But there comes a point where when you believe it and you believe in it and you believe in yourself and your mission is to really help people, you don't care anymore. It comes to a point where, you know what? I really, truly believe I was put here to do what I'm doing. I really enjoy what I'm doing. I'm really helping people. Like, I see the change, and I'm just happy. I've never been happier. I don't know. It's a lot of work. I've never been happier.
Dude, that's amazing. I just want to touch on the meditation and discernment. I often get my answers. I ask questions, just like you had said. I ask specific questions, and sometimes I'll write them down. And I'm looking for clarity. I'm looking for direction. I'm looking to find these answers based in love and kindness and for myself and for others, and basically based in the purpose. How can I best serve, my fellow man or God in the questions that I ask? And what I've found is I do get the answers, man, and I get them through interactions with other people. And like you said, being aware, being present, and listening for the answers to the questions that I've asked. And the question gets answered in the deep subconscious when I run into whatever the situation is that gives me part of the answer. And I've learned, Yianni, that the answers come 100%. And if I'm still in doubt if this is the answer, then that's not the fucking answer. The answers come 100%. Might come 5% here and 5% there and 5% here and 5% there. Might come through a television commercial. Part of it might come through a radio commercial, might come through a podcast, might come through, me tripping on the fucking sidewalk. The answers all come to the point where I get the answer 100%. And the thing about this is I know the answer is there 100% because there's no doubt in the answer. And if I'm still doubting the answer, that's not the answer. So I try not to use too much logic when I'm looking for the answer, because logic and common sense and the subtleness of my rationalization and self-seeking can often obscure what it is I'm actually asking for and what answer I'm waiting for. So this has only come with practice through recovery. Ask me that same question at a year in. Oh yeah, I know what's best. I'm going to use logic, but through the practice of meditation, mindfulness, doing my step 10 inventories, my step 11 inventories, the inventories and the self-examination that have come well after the second and third year really has cleared that channel. And just to quote the book here, much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from him who has all knowledge and power. That is on page 85 in the big book at step 10. And step 10 is there to keep clearing the channel. And much has already been said in the first 85 pages, plus the doctor's opinion, about how I receive his strength, his inspiration, his direction from him who has all knowledge and power. And I go into that power within myself, in my heart, the connection to something greater than myself. And then it says, if you have followed directions carefully, you will have felt the spirit of his flow into you. To some extent, you have become God conscious. You have begun to develop this vital sixth sense. And I think it's that sixth sense. That's what's there to guide our lives. And that sixth sense is based in that love and intuition. And when we get in touch with that thing that's meant to guide our lives, like you said, it doesn't matter what anybody fucking thinks about us. We know we're okay. And it's based in our connection with that divine. Yeah. And I'll finish with this. In the doctor's opinion, he writes, these men believe in themselves, and they believe more in the power that pulls these chronic alcoholics back from the gates of death. I do believe in myself today, Yianni. I have great self-confidence, but I believe more in the power, this God that I've connected to, that pulled me back from the gates of death. And when I disconnect from that power, I start running my own life and I start feeling worse about me. So my self-confidence and my ability to be a good person, a good father, a good ex-husband, a good boyfriend, when I am that, a good friend. It's all directly related to my connection with something greater. When I'm connected well, I'm a great person. And when that connection is diminishing, I'm not as great. So any comments on that before I wind us down?
You know what? You're absolutely right. I completely agree with you, meaning that I don't use common sense either. It feels right. I just go with it. I feel it. I don't think it. It's a feeling. It's not a thought. When I think of things, it's weird. I don't act on them right away. I'll act on something when I feel it's right.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I mean? Like I met my teammates down here in Montreal through the weirdest circumstances, but it just felt right. Like if I would have went with common sense, I wouldn't have teamed up with, let's say, one of the 3 people that I'm working with. But that feeling, when we talk about, obviously in the first year of recovery, I would have went with common sense. But sometimes, my ego is so big that even my common sense can trick me.
Okay, my brother, I fucking love this interview. I love our talk, and I love the beginning of building this friendship. And so as we wind it down here, bro, what's your message, final message for the alcoholic who's new or the alcoholic still suffering? What's your message for them?
What's my message? What do you got to lose? You're not happy anyway. What do you got to lose than to really give it a try? To really listen. It might be hard, but it's completely worth it.
Great fucking message, bro. I love it. What are you willing to do to change your life, right?
Yeah.
Like, you keep doing the same thing you always did, you get what you always got.
Exactly.
We got to get uncomfortable and step into the unknown and try some things that we've never tried before. So we get, I like this one. You want an exceptional life, you got to do some exceptional things. The fuck are you willing to do, right? So Yianni, how can our guests find you? If they want to contact you, maybe you don't want them to contact you, but what platforms are you on? Where can they find more of Yianni?
I'm on Instagram under Raw and Recovery. I'm on YouTube under Raw and Recovery. I'm on Facebook under Raw and Recovery. I'm on Twitter under Yianni Tsatas. Or you can go directly to my website, rawandrecovery.com, and my phone number is there. And my phone number is even on my Instagram. My phone number is anywhere. Anybody can reach, even if it's just for questions, even if it's just to shoot the shit. You know what I mean? Not only for a business purposes, even if it's just to talk, just to say what's happening. I'm there for anybody. Like, I'm open to talk with anybody, anybody, anywhere. Sometimes to get that little message on Facebook, thank you for your quotes. They make my day. Yeah,
bro. So, Yianni, from mankind, I want to thank you for doing what you do. And from my own personal experience of getting to know you, I want to thank you for what you're doing. And, I really appreciate you coming on here. And I look forward to us building a stronger relationship and maybe meeting one day. So again, kudos. Thank you very much.
We are going to meet. We are going to meet. Thank you very much, brother. And thank you for taking the time. I'm really grateful. Thank you. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart.
Okay, brother. You have a great day, and good luck with the rest of your day today, and we'll talk soon. Thank you for tuning in to the UDR cast. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. The viewpoints and the opinions expressed today were solely of the individual sharing them. If you resonated with this episode, please follow us and share this link with anyone that may benefit from it. Please visit us at BILLWARDLIFE to see everything that we have going on. We can recover. one person, one family, one community at a time.